Tonight on Connecticut's news station, a Christmas tragedy. An elderly woman found dead inside her home in Bristol. Police are calling the circumstances suspicious. We have late breaking details moments away. We are now in that time that Dickens called Christmas past. We'll look at how the holiday was celebrated here and all around the world, including in the Holy Land. And we'll check in with passengers at Bradley Airport to see how the airlines and TSA handled this busy holiday travel day.
Now at 10, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good evening to you, and great to have you along for the Fox 61 Connecticut News at 10. I'm Matt Scott. Brent and Sarah both have the night off. We begin tonight with two sad stories on this Christmas evening: a terrible car crash and an unexplained death claiming the lives of two of Connecticut's elders. We'll begin in Bristol, where police were performing a well-being check at a house on Morningside Drive when they found the body of a woman described as elderly, and they're calling her death suspicious. No information was released about her age or her identity. We're working to get more details, and we'll bring them to you when we get them. On Interstate 91 in Middletown this morning, a deadly rollover crash involving two cars ended in death for one passenger. 74-year-old Verona Facey of New York was in the back seat of a Toyota Corolla headed northbound when her car collided with a Chrysler sedan. This was around 9 a.m. today. Both vehicles rolled over in the median near exit 20. The people in the front seat of that Toyota survived with only minor injuries, but Facey died in the crash. Now, despite being in a rollover, the other driver said they were not hurt and refused treatment. The crash is under investigation. We have an update tonight on the breaking news we told you about last night at 11 o'clock. A woman was arrested by police in Newtown after a shooting and a standoff with officers. That standoff on Boggs Hill Road ended early this morning. 32-year-old Megan Gouveia is charged with shooting a man who's now hospitalized in Danbury. She is being held on $1.5 million bond. All right, we've made it through the holiday, and now it's time to get back to work. Sam Sampieri is here for Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank with a look at the forecast. What's it looking like, Sam?
Oh, man, it's kind of foggy out there. As a matter of fact, we have a dense fog advisory. Take a look at this picture out here. You can hardly see anything in Mohegan Sun. And I'll tell you, some of this fog is down in near zero. I know driving down to the studio, it was kind of tricky in some areas, but there's that live shot of Mohegan Sun. And we have this dense fog advisory now that's in effect right until tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Back up just to show you that it's throughout most of the state with the exception of Fairfield County. Temperatures are above freezing everywhere, even northwestern Connecticut, upper 30s to lower 40s. And we have partly cloudy skies above the fog, but that fog's going to hang in there all night long. Other than that, we're going to have temperatures staying above freezing overnight into tomorrow morning, holding in the 30s. And again, that dense fog advisory will be in effect right until 10 o'clock, and then it'll burn off, but still a mild day. Much like today, the day after Christmas will feature temperatures up near 50. Once again, I'll be back in a few minutes. And in detail the rest of the weekend, we'll talk about our next rain event coming up and all the details you need to know about the next storm. Matt?
Sam, we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. If your idea of a Christmas feast is a turkey with all the trimmings, you may be missing out on another Christmas tradition that a lot of other people enjoy. Online searches for this other kind of delicacy peak every year on Christmas Day. They're searching for two words: Chinese food. Fox 61's DeAndrea Turner is here to explain why. Good evening, DeAndrea.
Hi, Matt. Well, many folks, they'll take home little boxes and maybe even some duck sauce. They'll have this in their cabinet or maybe their pantries for later on. But other holiday fixins like ham and turkey, that's out the window for people because they are taking out Chinese delivery for a variety of reasons. Now, I spoke to one restaurant owner and he tells me that some people even call in their orders months ahead of time. Outside, the sound of Christmas music and calmness. But on the inside of this business,
the busiest day of the year.
The sound of hustle and bustle take over Black Bamboo Chinese restaurant this Christmas.
All hands on that. My parents are here, my sister, my brother, everybody. It's a whole family thing.
The Chu family has been serving the West Hartford community Christmas takeout for the last 13 years.
All big bags today.
Many customers being regulars.
They're not even like my customers. We're like family. They come here, I go, we're very like first name basis.
Like Kelly Reese, who's been getting her holiday treat here since 2014.
This was our plan. I called in my order last week.
Getting this meal is a tradition for a lot of people like Gary Green, who's been doing this for the last 45 years.
Actually started out because there was nothing ever opened on Christmas. So being Jewish, it wasn't a day that we celebrated, so if we wanted to go out and have anything, it was Chinese food.
While he took his meal to go, some families opted to sit in and eat their meals at Green Tea Chinese restaurant in Farmington.
It's crazy busy.
With this being the busiest day of the year for many Chinese restaurants, manager Dennis Chu estimates they serve about 1,000 people through sit-down and takeout orders combined, bringing in a lot of business and a lot of holiday cheer.
They help the small business here too, so I feel happy to working on Christmas too as well.
And a fun fact for you guys, both restaurant owners say one of their most famous dishes to serve and for takeout and for dine-in is General Chicken. So in the studio, DeAndrea Turner, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
I am well versed with that tradition. Thank you, DeAndrea. President Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden spoke to American service members on the phone today to thank them for their service. The Bidens and several members of their family spent Christmas at Camp David, the presidential retreat in the Maryland mountains. They'll be returning to Washington tomorrow, then heading to St. Croix in the Virgin Islands to celebrate New Year's. Lawmakers are now home for the holidays, but talks on a border security and immigration deal, key to unlocking more aid for both Ukraine and Israel, are set to resume on Wednesday. Senators spent much of last week tangled in talks with administration officials, fighting over parole and asylum for migrants and caps on how many can enter the United States legally. The two sides of the aisle could not be farther apart.
We will not abandon our principles on border, but we will work to find common ground wherever we can.
The only thing they see is a threat to Joe Biden's reelection.
No border security also means no money for Ukraine and Israel as the issues are intertwined. The latest from Israel in its war against Hamas is now from a new battlefront, Syria, where an Israeli airstrike killed a senior leader in Iran's Revolutionary Guard. Iran responded with this vow, quote, Israel will pay. Now, this has been a deadly weekend in what many Americans call the Holy Land, even on Christmas, with dozens dead from new airstrikes. Trey Yingst has more from Tel Aviv.
Look at this!
No Christmas break for the war in Gaza, following one of the deadliest weekends for both sides since the fighting started. Hamas officials say hundreds of civilians were killed in Israeli airstrikes from Friday into Monday. They claim most of those deaths happened in areas formerly declared safe zones by Israel, and they're accusing the Israelis of deliberately targeting civilians.
We are all targets. They told us to get out and go to a safe place in the central Gaza. We came to the central, and in the central we were attacked.
And on the Israeli side, 17 soldiers killed in combat, most of them in southern and central Gaza. And as fighting picks up once again around the southern city of Khan Yunis, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will expand its offensive in the coming days, while also admitting the war has exacted a, quote, very heavy price.
We are doing everything to safeguard the lives of our warriors, but one thing we will not do, we will not stop until we achieve victory.
But there's a new proposal from Egypt to trade a ceasefire for a phased hostage release, and for the first time, the creation of a Palestinian government made of experts, not Hamas or Fatah, to govern Gaza and the West Bank.
We are favorable to any pause that can lead to improvement in humanitarian aid and to the exchange of prisoners. And we know that negotiations are taking place.
Egypt says the new peace plan is still being finalized, but it has been presented to all parties involved. In Tel Aviv, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
let's turn to another war-weary land where there may be a sign of hope and change amid ongoing fighting. For the first time, the Orthodox Church of Ukraine observed Christmas today, December 25th, instead of in January. Many Ukrainians have embraced the change with enthusiasm, viewing it as a positive step in their war against Russia. CB Cotton takes us around the world for a look at other Christmas celebrations starting in New York City.
Across the country and around the world, folks are getting into the Christmas spirit, often in very different ways. On Christmas Eve, plenty of people out and about getting their last-minute shopping done ahead of midnight masses at churches from coast to coast. Here in New York, thousands gathered at St. Patrick's Cathedral to light candles, say prayers, and greet their fellow parishioners.
I've been doing my duty here, welcoming all these foreigners, taking their pictures for them, and I'm having a ball right now.
Overseas, plenty of other holiday traditions playing out. In Australia, thousands took advantage of clear skies and warm temperatures to spend Christmas on the beach. In Berlin, it was much colder, but that didn't stop the annual Santa-themed polar plunge. And in war-torn Gaza, the small Christian community gathered for a midnight mass, while Pope Francis prayed for an end to the fighting.
I plead for an end to the military operations with their appalling harvest of innocent civilian victims.
Meanwhile, as millions of Americans hit the rails, roads, and skies, few holiday hiccups have been reported, though there were some exceptions, like at Denver International Airport, where more than 400 flights were canceled or delayed on Christmas Eve.
If it's like a super big delay that the airline can't really resolve because it's something weather-related or something like a technical delay, then the apps aren't really that helpful.
And there are still big crowds at the airports. The TSA says they're expecting to screen about 2.5 million passengers every day until January 2nd. In New York, CB Cotton, Fox News.
All right, back here in Connecticut, it was another busy day at Bradley International. Santa Claus wasn't the only one flying on Christmas. We spoke to a woman who arrived here from Florida with her family, who said it was the first time she ever traveled by air on the actual Christmas holiday. And she said there were no troubles.
We're surprising my husband's family in Vermont. We haven't seen them for 2 years. I'm gonna cry. And we're flying up here to see them. Yeah. She hasn't seen her grandfather in 2 years, so yeah.
That fog Sam was talking about earlier created a lot of delays for airlines from Chicago to Connecticut. Southwest Airlines in particular had more than 1,000 delayed flights and over 100 cancellations. We are just getting started.